Welcome. I'm Carolyn Chavino, your career coach. And today I have with me Ozzy Cartagena.
How you doing?
We're going to switch it up a little bit. Over the 17 shows that I have been honored to do with the great team here at ACTV, I have been asked to be asked questions. I'm like, why? They want to hear from me. So, anyway, I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to be very honest, as always. And it kind of feels weird being the interviewee instead of the interviewer, but we're going to let this rip and roll. So, Ozzy, take it away.
Well, I have the honors today to interview you today. So,
Okay.
Carolyn,
Yes.
take us on a journey of your career path, of your history, specifically the recruitment side.
Okay. Well, my career journey has been very long and vast, which is something that I absolutely love. And I'm honored to say I started out as a teacher and I taught seventh grade. And then from seventh grade, I taught the little ones, which I really loved so much. And from there, I decided to switch careers. I was in the teaching arena for about, I would say, 12 years, something of that nature. And then I went into the newspapers. Back in the day, there were actual newspapers that you went and bought. Telling my age, but that's okay. Proud of it. So I bought a newspaper and I was looking at something and it said staffing. And I'm like, what is that? I had no idea what staffing was. And so I made a phone call and the individual who picked up the phone actually was the owner of a staffing firm downtown Chicago. And she happened to be an amazing owner of 5 different staffing firms downtown and the suburbs. And she took me under her wing. And a wing it was. And at first, she wanted me to start out as a branch manager. And I said, no, I don't even know what you people do. What is staffing? And so she said, okay, let me show you. And I was so honored that she took me under her wing, someone of that caliber and that stature. I mean, she had been in the industry, I think, for over 20 years herself. And she saw something in me.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Like,
Yeah.
What exactly did this person see in you?
I have no clue.
That she wanted to make you a manager right away.
I know. Well, because I had been a regional director in my career as an educator, actually. So I decided to step into the unknown, step into something I didn't even know what it was. I did my research, and it said something about they put people to work.
Okay. And
well, that sounded good to me because I like helping people.
So when you started, tell me that moment, that recruiting moment, that or just describe that first moment of interviewing or recruiting someone.
Okay, well, at first I thought I was being a little intrusive because back in those days we had a flip chart of questions that we asked our candidates. And so, some of those questions were always, job-related questions. They weren't personal questions, but being new at really recruiting people or interviewing people, I felt kind of like I was intruding on their privacy. So I was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable.
And tell me, what's the most unexpected thing that has happened during one of those interviews? Something.
Do you got
crazy
a couple of weeks? I know.
We got these 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, right. I would have to say the most unexpected is when somebody pours their heart out to you, Ozzy, and they are in a dire moment of their life. When people knock on a recruiter's door, they are in need of work. And sometimes they're looking for a job change, and sometimes it's urgent. Sometimes they need to put food on their table. They need to continue to pay a car payment. They need to continue to pay their bills. This particular time was that time. This young lady was, very emotional. And I, had to keep it professional and keep our conversation on task. And I think that was unexpected that someone felt that comfortable with me to share their story. And it was an uncomfortable moment, but it was also a moment in time moving forward from there where I realized, wow, this is something I'm supposed to be doing.
So when someone they're pouring their heart out to you in the middle of an interview, but you still want to bring it back to the main thing.
Yes.
What's some of the questions that or how do you bring it back, basically?
Well, one of the main things that I shared was, of course, you want to share empathy, with that person. And I think I do that pretty well because I truly feel what that person is going through, for the most part. And what I said was, if you would like to chat after the interview, I'd be happy to be available for you. But right now, let's get you working and let's stay on point and let's finish this interview so I can submit your resume to a few clients that I think you may be a good fit culturally with. What do you think about that? And she was like, okay, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now, 5 years ago, COVID hit.
Oh,
okay, and
yes.
it changed a lot of industries.
Yes, it did.
What has in recruitment, basically, what has changed in the last 5 years since COVID?
Well, I think the staffing industry across the board, whether it's healthcare staffing, manufacturing, professional trades, it really has changed a dynamic. So professionally, people working from home, and then now companies saying, no, we really want you to come back and to work in the office. And one of the things that folks have to understand is the entire time that people were working from home, the company still had to pay for their rent, their utilities, for all of those things in the building in which they were working. And now they're paying for the infrastructure for them to work from home. And it's just, it's a ridiculous expense. It truly is. So companies are compromising, which is a good thing, which working hybrid, working, a couple of days at home and a couple of days in the office. And what I've heard from the individuals that I continue to recruit on the professional end is they like going back to the office because there's camaraderie there. There's a sense of, gosh, get me out of the house. So that's one sector, okay? And the other part of your question is, it changed where people started doing gig economy, and that's continuing today. As everybody knows, that's going and buying people's groceries, delivering people's foods.
Right, the Instacarts and
yes,
the DoorDash.
Yes, because we were locked in. We were locked in the home, right? And so people started to become their own bosses, their own entrepreneurs, and they didn't want to go back to work full time, okay? And then you had individuals that were placed into situations of need. This is what continues to hurt. Places of need where managers of companies perhaps were no longer in those roles for whatever reason. And now people were placed in those roles because companies had to keep going, but the people put in those managerial roles or leadership roles, you would think, now removing individuals and keeping things going within companies, but they weren't trained to do so. And that, to me, was the biggest deficit, not only for the company, but for all the employees that were working there, and also for the person that was placed in a position that they weren't qualified to be placed in. So what I see is people fighting to keep those positions and still not being qualified per se, okay? And there's still a lack of training, a lack of leadership training within companies to provide people with development. That one-on-one training. Not everybody learns from a video. And I think that has changed dramatically during COVID, is the learning element, Ozzy. For sure, the learning and development piece of it.
And another question I have was, there were small businesses that literally were shut down.
Yes.
And they could not come back.
Right.
They shut permanently. And so those owners that ran those small businesses were now looking for work.
Yes.
And we're walking into those recruiting firms.
Exactly.
How were you able to help those kind of individuals that lost their businesses,
well,
but we're looking to create income again?
Well, exactly.
In a different way.
And fortunately, I was trained, and I say this, fortunately, I was trained from very good mentors in my career. And from the very beginning, as a recruiter, I was trained the do's and the don'ts. So I was trained about crossover skills. And what I mean by that is, and this is to answer your question, how was I, and I continue to be able to help individuals whose businesses unfortunately closed down. It depends. It's like, okay, what have you been doing? And then let's take those skills and see what other occupations require the skills, the soft skills or the hard skills that you currently have. And so looking at that and then understanding who that person is, because it's much more than a resume, okay? As a recruiter, a true recruiter, you are extracting from a person's personality. You are understanding their behavior. And you have to pair that with the right client, because I have a responsibility not only to my client, but as a recruiter, I have a responsibility to my client also, who is the person I'm placing on to work, right? A potential job. So you never want anybody to be set up to fail. You want to set them up to succeed. So as a recruiter, you need to know that person. You have to do an intense behavioral interview and do it in a way where you understand that person, what their philosophy is, what is going to make them happy when they get out of their car in the morning to go to work at this particular company. So it's truly a match. And then on the other hand, it's getting to know that client. What is that client all about? Because sometimes what you read about a client isn't exactly the culture of the client, because sometimes management has changed, therefore the culture has changed. Is the vision statement on the wall actually what the vision statement is when you go in and do a tour of that company? So it's a recruiter's responsibility to both the client and the person looking for work to make that match. And it's a big responsibility. I mean, you're talking about changing somebody's life here, and that's not something a recruiter should ever take lightly. It's a huge responsibility.
With the emergence of new technologies, what are some of the trends that you're already seeing that is beginning to shape the future of hiring?
Okay, well, AI, of course.
Yeah.
In a good way. I happen to love technology very much. And I think one of the technologies that I love is helping people with resumes, and is Copilot, for one. And they can just list all of the jobs that they've had, and from there it'll extract the skill sets, and from there it'll put together a wonderful resume for the individuals.
And what do you think about like Chat GPT? That's one that a lot of people know about.
Yes, ChatGPT is outstanding. I know some of my recruiters use ChatGPT, and I encourage that because I want the grammar to be correct, you know, and not, and particularly myself. I'm not a writer, you know. I am not somebody who is going to look at script and go, oh, well, the punctuation here is incorrect. That is not me. And so in that case, that comes in handy. So you can write a professional email or write a professional letter or write a professional, resume, etc.
Okay. My next question is, how do you balance company needs with the candidate's expectations? What the company needs, what the candidate's looking for, like, how do you balance all of that?
Well, on a teeter-totter, I can honestly say, Ozzy, that's the hardest part.
Okay.
It truly is. And again, unless you really get to know your candidate and what their expectations are, and get to know your client and what their expectations are, it's difficult to make a good match. So again, it's peeling back the layers of both the client and the candidate to find out what that match is all about, what the expectation is. I find that it's best to send the client a resume of the particular candidate that I think may be a good fit. However, I leave it in the hands of the client, okay? And I say, here's the candidate. What I would recommend is a face-to-face interview, whether you want to do it virtually, which is great, or whether you want to do it one-on-one. It's your choice. But get to meet the person. So what I do is I prep my candidate. Yes, I do. I prep them. I want to set them up for a successful interview. And I will ask them to please write down 3 to 4 questions that they have researched about that particular company. And then I will also ask them to ask for a tour of the company. A lot of things happen in the touring of a company. You get to see and you get to feel the dynamic of that company. If you could hear a pin drop, that tells you something. Everyone there is typically in an accounting department, okay? They're not playing basketball, right, in the middle of the rooms like some of the people may be at, some clients, which I've been to, which are fun. That's not a place of fun, okay? They're a place of business. So that's going to take a different personality set, those soft skills, hard skills, right? And again, it's identifying the person and identifying the client and what's going to fit.
And it sets a real expectation, really.
Yes, it does.
Now you know what the environment looks like, how it feels.
Yeah.
And the client gets to see the candidate and feels them out.
Yes.
So.
And as I ask the candidate to ask those questions, I also coach my client as well and have them go through a behavioral interview with me, right? As though they were them. I said, when you're touring this individual at your facility, please watch their body language. See if they're looking. See if they really care about asking you questions. What is their body language like? Are they saying hi to people? Are they friendly? There's so many different things that we can see just by a person's actions without them even opening their mouth.
Next question is, with many companies right now using Indeed, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, what's your approach to sourcing top talent? Carolyn's approach.
Carolyn's approach. Thank you, Oz. My approach is contacting individuals that I currently know in those roles. I feel that like stays with like. What I mean by that is if I am sourcing for a CDL driver, I'm going to contact CDL drivers that I've sourced in the past. If I'm sourcing for a vice president of a company, I am going to contact VPs of companies and ask them, do you know of anybody that is looking to change careers, change companies? So referrals are my best asset at this point.
Okay. What makes a candidate truly stand out? Something that you look for in a candidate that stands out for you, that just gives you the warms and fuzzy feelings. You know, what are you looking for?
That's an excellent question, and I think everyone that employs people should look for this. Good eye contact, I think, is key. If somebody is looking at you in your eyes, to me, it shows confidence. To me, it shows they may be fearful to even be in the interview, but they're walking through it. A smile never hurts. It never hurts. And I think somebody who is inquisitive, that's what I look for. Somebody that comes in and just talks, kind of like me, just saying, but continues to just, you know what I mean, as I'm just trying to be funny.
Keep talking, Carol.
Right. But it continues to just, talk about themselves. What really gets to me is that warm handshake. Hi, I'm Carolyn. How are you?
I'm good.
And just look at me, okay? Address me, right? And then ask me, what is your expectation of this interview? Don't say to me, isn't it nice outside? Or, oh my gosh, it was raining outside. Cut to the chase.
Right.
Seriously, in a very professional way, in a friendly way. But I would get right to it and say, what is your expectation of this interview? Turn it around. You're asking the interviewer a question, which is a great way to start because it shows interest and it shows that you are on top of your game.
What would be a good question to ask when you're looking for work, and you're in that interview? Just a solid question to get the things going and have them really consider you.
Well, if I were the candidate and I were to ask you as my recruiter, what is your expectation of this interview? I would hope that you would sit back and say to me, to get to know you, get to know why you're interested in my company. And then I would also say, I would like to know that you've done your research about my company. Because that alone will show me if it's just a job you're looking for, or is it a career path you're looking for? Because when you do your research, you're serious. When you're just walking in the door for an interview, you're looking for placement. Two different things.
Okay. Right now, there's some people that are watching this episode that are sending their applications in, applying.
Yeah.
And they just keep getting rejected.
Yes.
They're either sending, they're going online, doing the application, sending the resumes. They probably have done 50, 60 of them and haven't gotten a response, or they're just getting rejected. What advice can you give to the viewers right now that are going through that?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'd like to say why some of that is happening. I can't say why all of it's happening, but sometimes as a recruiter, I'll get sometimes 300 resumes because the job market right now is real tight. There are people that have lost their jobs, right? So I'll get hundreds of resumes. I can't possibly go through them all. I can't. So I can't even imagine a large company with a portal that has maybe hundreds of resumes coming in a day. You can't get back to people. So algorithms have been set in place and very needed. They truly have been, because sometimes I'm looking for, say right now, I'm looking for an engineer for one of my clients. And I will get people who've worked at various local restaurants. And it'll clearly say on the job description, must have X amount of years experience, must have these skill sets, and it doesn't matter. So it's real difficult to weed through all of the resumes that truly have nothing to do with the job post that I just made. And I know all these recruiters out there going, yeah, and it's the truth, because sometimes people will apply just to apply because they're on unemployment and they have to apply at certain different places. But that just backs up our portals as recruiters. And we can't get to everybody. So be patient. Main thing I would do in that case, if it's a big company, and I've shared this before on the show, get a copy of your resume, go on LinkedIn, find out who the vice president, president of the company is, or director of HR, put the resume in a beautiful envelope, put their name on it, and a nice little note, drop it off at the company, and there you go. That's what I would do in today's day and age, for sure.
Thank you. What's the biggest mistake a job seeker can make? I mean, I can answer that one.
Please answer. I want you to.
For me, it's quitting. That's the biggest mistake any job seeker can make, is quitting.
Tell me why, Ozzy.
It's just that the defeated feeling and feeling like it's never going to change, but you gotta persevere. You gotta push your feelings to the side, the doubts to the side, and just keep going. I mean, there were times where in my life where, and I can give an example, where I didn't have things didn't go my way. I mean, family, personal life, even living arrangements. I did not have a place to live, and I was literally living out of a kitchen and bath store.
Right.
But what I did was, instead of quitting, all I did was I just started to network with a pastor, chaplain. He would take me, go to like town hall meetings, and I would just follow and just be present.
Yes.
But I kept shaking hands. I kept saying hello. I kept introducing myself, and then little by little, as the time went on, opportunity came, and I was able to get hired.
Absolutely. I love that. And that is the truth, perseverance. And, for those that aren't tied, to a pastor or a mentor, and many people are not, I happen to coach at a shelter nearby, and a lot of folks are not attached to a mentor or a pastor or what have you. And in those cases, what I do is I encourage them. There's so many different staffing firms. I mean, in this area alone, in the great city of Aurora, I can count on one street, sometimes 5. So why not just knock on the door and continue to knock on the door? And as you said, Ozzy, just never give up. And you will find the right staffing firm that's going to work with you. You truly will. Or the right company that's going to work with you. And I think, Ozzy, you just gave the best advice of the day. And that's never give up, for sure. Because opportunity is always right around the corner. My gosh, I know that sounds cliche, but it is the truth.
Indeed.
It's always around the corner. And it just seems like right when we give up, it's like, oh, thank goodness I stayed an extra 5 minutes, because boom, here it is, right?
Exactly.
And I'm glad that happened for you, for sure. I think that's a great story. It's a great witness that you just shared for everyone. I love that.
Thank you.
That's huge.
And who's ever watching now, that really, that I carry that with you. Don't give up. Don't quit. Keep going after it.
Yes.
It's going to happen.
Yes.
It's going to happen. My next question is, we're going to switch it a little bit. We're going to now focus on business.
Okay, good.
So how to help the business, how to help the company to build a strong employer brand.
Yeah. And, that's been some companies. We have some great companies here in the great city of Aurora that have made sure they've implemented great training resources for their management teams, and I think sometimes for the smaller companies it's a little more difficult to do so because of cost, right? And in those instances, I would say hook up with a good leadership coach and make sure you have lunch and learns for your team. People leave because of people. People leave because they're not invested in. People leave because they don't feel like there's a pathway. But when you start to train and develop individuals, it's a whole different dynamic. It's a wonderful dynamic. So that's the advice I would give to these businesses, is to always embrace a culture of learning, always embrace a culture of safety, always embrace a culture of diversity, and bridge gaps is huge between generations, because older generations can learn so much from the younger generations, they're so brilliant. And younger generations, can learn so much from the older generations. And I think it's important, it's imperative that companies have a bridge, a gap. There's so many seniors that obviously are retiring, and rightly so. They're at that age. And some are way beyond that age because they don't feel like they want to retire yet. They feel like they have so much to offer. So what I would suggest is this, Ozzy. Find out who those seniors are that were in the company, that were really the leaders in those particular roles. Offer them a caveat of, come in a couple days of work. Be a mentor. I have a couple of mentees for you. I think they would be honored for the most part. I think that's a great solution to training because, again, sometimes people need that hands-on training. They need somebody sitting next to them instead of watching on a screen. So to me, I think that's a great solution. I'd love to see happen.
I agree. Get that mentoring happening in your culture. You know, there are still these great people with all this experience, many years of it, that can still give back, and actually you give them purpose to give back, to show, probably troubleshoot, process the problems quicker just by offering their advice, their consultation.
Yeah, and also learn.
Yeah,
from the person that they're mentoring.
So then, to segue into this, because you're touching on culture, how important of a role does culture play in recruiting top talent for these companies?
It's huge. Years ago, my parents, they worked and they had jobs. They didn't necessarily like what they were doing. Today is very different. Culture is everything. Individuals, and I love the younger generation because they want to have a voice at the table, and they should have a voice at the table. They shouldn't be told what to do, okay? Everyone needs to sit down and collectively come up with solutions, come up with different marketing situations. I could go on and on. That's a whole topic for me. It truly is.
It's a whole episode, another episode.
It is. But I just think that it's important for people to have a voice at the table. That's what I definitely would share with you. That's something that has got to be consistent, that has got to continue to change and move forward, where people sit down and have a voice at the table. I don't care if you've just graduated college. You have something to offer.
Right on. What's the toughest placement you've ever made as a recruiter?
Well,
did you have one, or it was always easy?
I can honestly say I haven't had the toughest yet.
Okay.
I have placed vice presidents. I have placed CDL drivers. I have placed envelope stuffers. I have placed engineers. I have placed executive level admin,
Wow.
and I have placed individuals who have worked for attorneys.
That's awesome.
Okay. So just the full gamut of my 35 years. And I can honestly say it's not the people. You know, sometimes the job description is unrealistic, and sometimes the client is unrealistic in what they're looking for. And sometimes the client isn't willing to train even just a little bit. And that could make it difficult. I haven't felt that yet, fortunately for me.
Yeah, that is fortunate, but that's good.
Yeah.
What's one lesson that stood out to you that recruitment has taught you about people?
Well, I'll let this be my last question
All right.
for sure. It has taught me that everyone has a story. It has taught me that I don't care if you're a vice president of a company, if you are a picker packer, everyone needs to be respected the same. As I share with my team, everybody pulls their pants up the same. And, you know, I just feel like we're all human beings here to try to help each other win. It's difficult every day to win. And if we embrace each other's talents and motivate each other, I think it would just be an amazing place to work. That's what I would have to say to individuals looking for work. Be open, be willing to listen, be open to constructive criticism, be open to asking for help. Don't be prideful. Do your research. And the same thing for employers. I would say be willing to train. Be willing to look at the workforce coming up because they're essential. And be willing to embrace individuals for who they are. Get to know your people. Get to know them. When I tour a company, I know it's a company that I want to do business with when the people on the floor are addressed by name by the person giving me the tour, the representative of that company. I know that they invest in their people. So think about that. And so anyway, I'm done.
Well, thank you for answering my questions today, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Greatly appreciate it.
Well, this was fun. This was really fun. Ozzy, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I seriously
Anytime.
thank you. I welcome the questions anytime. I hope I did a good
great.
job by answering questions. You don't have to say yes or no. That's okay. But anyway, thank you all so much. I hope this was helpful to clients, businesses. Obviously, address your culture. Take a survey. Find out what people are thinking. Don't be afraid. Don't lose your most valuable asset. And that's these wonderful, wonderful, robust minds that are graduating college and that are in high school right now learning. Amazing talent that is right at your fingertips. Embrace them. Develop them. And for that, I just want to say thank you. What's happening in the world of work, Aurora?